Imagine flying 10,000 feet over the Black Sea when a fighter jet flips upside down and parks itself 15 feet above your windshield. That is exactly what hit a British reconnaissance crew at 10:42 inches the morning, 70 miles off Crimea. 30 people were suddenly one nervous twitch from never going home. The aggressor was a Russian Su-30SM, and its pilot was playing a deadly game. He rolled inverted, slammed his throttles into full afterburner, and washed twin pillars of blue flame over the British plane. The shockwaves shoved the 150-ton aircraft down 200 feet in 2 seconds, and a sharp warning tone screamed through every headset. Here's the thing. That tone meant the Russian had flipped his combat switch, thumb resting on the trigger of an air-to-air missile. One squeeze and the whole crew would vanish in a fireball. Then he dove, hauled into a high G turn, and came roaring back nose to nose at over 1,200 miles per hour. The British pilots yanked the controls to dodge a collision that could spark a world war. Remember, this plane carries no weapons. It's a flying pair of ears, not a dogfighter. So why was the Russian so confident? Because he thought the sky belonged to him. What he couldn't see was the trap closing in from above. A second Su-30 slid onto the radar, and now it was 2 against 1. The Russians set up a classic pincer, one jet on the British wing, while the other slipped into the blind spot behind the tail. The RC-135W is huge, slow, and built to loiter for hours, not twist through dogfights. To the fighters, it looked like a stray cow circled by wolves. So they sliced across its nose, dumping violent wake turbulence into its path. Think of it like the churning water behind a speedboat. A small boat that hits it flips, and a massive plane crossing a fighter's wake at the wrong angle can lose its wings. This wasn't airspace defense. It was an attempt to stage a fatal accident in international waters, betting NATO would be too rattled to respond. But while those pilots stared at their prey, they stopped watching their own sensors. They never noticed the ghost that had entered the arena. Miles overhead, 2 American F-35 Lightning IIs were circling silently above the clouds, every antenna tucked away and radar switched off. These jets carry sensors so sharp they can spot the heat from a cigarette 50 miles out. If Russian radar is a flashlight sweeping a dark forest, the F-35 is a mirror that bounces that light off into the trees. To the Russians, the sky looked empty, while the Americans watched every move like a 4K feed. Then the lead pilot flipped a switch, not a weapon, but an advanced data link, and the 2 stealth fighters and the British plane fused into one shared brain, trading the best ears and the best eyes in the sky. The lead Russian decided he was done playing and lit up the British plane with his fire control radar, the electronic version of cocking a revolver, and that's when his world fell apart. His screen dissolved into static. Suddenly, there weren't one target, but 100, blinking in and out, some racing at 4,000 miles an hour, others frozen still. His enemy's electronic warfare suite was feeding his computer pure fiction. He switched to his heat seeker. Too late. The Americans had already slid into a spot with the sun at their backs, drowning his infrared sensors in glare. Now he had every weapon imaginable and no way to aim a single one. The bully had just learned his victim brought a bodyguard. Emboldened by the silence, he dipped his nose for a pass under the British jet, hoping to flame out its engines with jet wash. But the sky ahead wasn't empty anymore. An F-35 burst from the glare and braked within 50 feet of his canopy, slamming him sideways with its own pressure wave. Before he could recover, the second fighter boxed him in. They pivoted on their thrust vectoring nozzles, keeping missiles trained on his cockpit no matter how he squirmed. The hunter had become the hunted. They herded him down toward the water, cutting him off every time he tried to climb or turn back. But the Allies weren't finished. From the west came a U.S. Navy EA-18G Growler hauling jamming pods that generate enough power to light a small city. It aimed those beams at the S-400 radar sites in Sevastopol, and the whole Russian air defense network on the peninsula went dark. Ground screens lit up with thousands of phantom targets, like 500 NATO bombers appearing from thin air. They couldn't fire a missile because they had no idea which blip was real. Then came the masterstroke. The British plane used a secret system to ping the fighter's flight computer directly. The cockpit flooded with emergency lights. The engines lost a third of their power, and the jet began fighting its own pilot. He limped to the edge of Crimean airspace, sensors fried and pried in pieces. Russian High Command, panicking over a phantom invasion, scrambled 10 more fighters for revenge. But as they crossed the coast, they smashed into a wall of steel. In just 20 minutes, NATO had stacked the sector with Strike Eagles, Typhoons, and 2 B-1B Lancer bombers lighting up every radar they had. Outnumbered 5-1, the newcomers circled, paralyzed, then watched the British plane calmly finish its mission and turn for home. So here's the wild part. By trying to bully one unarmed plane, Russia invited the combined American and British air forces to its doorstep. And that quiet spy plane carries a tool that can reach into an enemy jet's computer and turn its own systems against it. In today's skies, the scariest weapon isn't the one that goes boom. It's the one that makes your machine betray you. If this gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns of moments that almost changed everything. And tell me in the comments, did Russia just make the biggest mistake of the decade?